Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, evening at this point. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be doing totally not clickbait AR manufacturer tier list, which should be a ton of fun. Now, the Rumble link is live in the chat. It should be pinned. So in case this stream gets nuked in the next 2 minutes, in theory, it should be live over there. So without anything else, you might hear kids running around in the background, but that's because they are monsters that happen to be mine. All right. Before we get going, if you do want to help us out personally, you can, of course, go check out Focus Shooting LLC. I sell optics, and I just sold out of my last upper receiver. Next week, I should have Mark IV, which are 18-inch SPR uppers, and Dissipator uppers back in stock. But now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and bring in Gary here. For those of you who missed last week, Gary is going to be helping me with streams and providing additional autism where needed. So, how's your day going, Gary?
It's definitely a day.
Yeah? Yeah? You ready to get into a very non-controversial topic, which is rating everybody's favorite ARs for no particular reason?
My opinions can be bought. We'll put it that way.
Ah, perfect. Perfect. A man of class. Well, to start it off with, Celluloid Dream comes in and says, serial tier list also. No, I'm not doing that.
Next week.
The TNME did like a 2-hour breakdown of their serial tier list, and mine is a lot simpler than that. But I don't think we're going to be doing that today, Celluloid, but thank you for the $2, sir. All right. We can go ahead and bring this in. And now, before we get going in the tier list, are we going to be considering value whatsoever? Or is it just going to be raw performance?
I think we're going to have to go beyond value. Because I think if somebody engages in some pretty cringe marketing, they're going to get knocked down a tier or two as well. Looking at somebody specifically.
All right. Let me see. Value. Consideration. I'm putting a poll in the chat right now. Value consideration ? Start poll. It's a simple yes or a no. If we consider value. Probably should. At least somewhat. Maybe not weighted as heavily as some other things, but we can at least put it in there. Now, checking in on the Rumble real fast while that's going. Oh, sweet. Rumble is now going. Awesome. So everything is moving along as it should. Excellent.
Bottom tier is the trash can.
No value, just hardware. Nick says BCM is S tier. They're so damn consistent. SOTAR uses their parts as a control variable. And I think that speaks volumes. They give a free BCG with each upper now, too. That is a very funny way of saying they sell a complete upper that everybody else does. They give you a free BCG when you buy their upper. Like every other, like Geissele doesn't give you a free BCG when you buy one of their uppers. It comes with their upper, unless you buy a strip one, which is cheaper. Sure. Alex Sun says, I have a brain, so I can look up value for myself. The abstracts I don't know and is hard to look up. Sure. So he says, value is going to be different to different people too, right? So if my budget is $2,000, my value is going to be much different than somebody whose budget is $800, right? RTT says, just build quality, QC, and performance. Now, I'm seeing a lot of comments of people saying that we shouldn't consider value. However, the poll is at 68% that we should consider value. Sherman Sales comes in with the objectively correct opinion and says, LWRC Master Race. All right.
Wolfpack gives you a kiss on the lips with each order. I'll look into
really
that.
Cool. But I think that's just a you thing, Alex. It's just a you thing. All right. Let's go ahead and start off with alphabetical order, which is going to be ADM. Now, I have very little experience with ADM. Their lowers are really good. I don't believe I've ever shot one of their uppers, but I know the parts are very, very high quality, and the price is there to match.
if
So
their full rifles are anywhere near as good as their quick detach mounts, they're definitely A tier.
yeah, I was going to say A tier, because their performance is top tier for sure. I don't think that's really debatable. Their price is super high, but they do have the features to back it up, and I should probably try and get one.
I think you should skip over that when you go to the next one.
Arrow?
Yeah, just go to Anderson.
Go to Anderson
We'll do
first?
Arrow later on. Yeah.
All right. So Anderson, I'm thinking either D or C.
I think
they're not quite in the no QC. Well, we have a couple extra tiers in here. So is that C or D?
I mean, C is average.
C is average. I mean, I use some Anderson components, and I've had not no failures, but very few failures. And I know they have come out with a new line of rifles. They came out with it at SHOT Show. Actually, RTT, what's the new line? I saw your video on it. What's the new line of Anderson stuff? It's like Frontline or something like that, where it's kind of like a mid-tier, if you will. So C or D, final decision.
I like the C minus, D plus, somewhere in there. I'm good with D.
Let's leave it in D for right now. We'll come back to it later if it needs to move. Yeah, it's Frontline series. That's what I thought. All right. ArmaLite. I have absolutely no experience with ArmaLite whatsoever.
Me neither.
So
they're one of the original.
Right.
They're one of the original awesome trios.
Mm-hmm. I know that people use their spec for AR-10s. That's about it. Right. And now they're...
Modern ArmaLite is junk.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well, but I don't have any experience to put them any lower than that.
I mean, if we're going to include value, they value themselves at least as high as BCM, if not higher.
Right. So, I mean, BCM's kind of mid-tier in terms of price, but their performance is pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see. So ArmaLite D tier, I'm seeing a lot of D tiers, junk. So I think D. I think D is a safe bet for right now.
Absolutely.
But we'll get back to them later. So when do you want to hold off on the Arrow? When do you want to go for that?
It depends. When do you want to get into the list of the reasons why Arrow doesn't belong in B tier or higher?
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and do that now? So should we put Arrow in the no QC territory? Because they do have some issues.
Because they definitely have a QC department. I've seen it.
They do. But they have some issues. So what are they? C tier. C tier.
Yeah, C tier. If we're going to say anything is average, Arrow is average.
Right. All right. Let me go ahead and pull up what we had there, because I do have that tab. Because we can actually go through some of the...
I want to rate Arrow highly, but they sent me an upper with a gas block that wasn't pinned to the block. That Arrow, Nick, that sounds exactly like the list that we're about to pull up.
So I'm very sorry, guys, but we are showing Reddit. Okay. But this is a very useful one. This is a list of Arrow quality control snafus, let's say. So let's go ahead and snapped firing pin. After about 500 rounds, I've had snapped firing pins before. Metal shavings, badly worn buffer due to machining on their carriers. And then we have a plethora of snapped bolts. Now, in my entire time, like 7-8 years at this point, of shooting really crappy ARs, I have never broken a bolt. Never. Over the last 250,000 rounds or so. So this is kind of funny to see. Oh, that's an extractor. That's an awkward one. Bolts just breaking in half from Arrow. That's awkward. Another one. I mean, we can just kind of go through the list here. There's another broken Arrow bolt. Ooh, that looks... There's something missing there. That looks rough. So yeah, so C tier. Now, I do want to say that I haven't checked out their new stuff yet, because they're coming out with their Pro line, their Mod 4 handguards, their ambidextrous low receivers. I saw all those at SHOT Show and haven't had a chance to check them out yet. So this could be good. Could be good. Let me go ahead and put that back up there. All right. BCM. Now, BCM for me is a company that doesn't do anything special, but they do the basics to a very high level. The one thing that I do like about them quite a bit is their upper receivers, especially their Mark II upper receivers. They do have some tangible improvements, reinforcements, thermal fit barrel extensions, and they don't charge that much money. And they have an enhanced lightweight profile for their barrels, which, while not my personal favorite, I do understand a lot of people like.
Yeah, that sounds... BCM sounds A tier. Absolutely A tier.
So I'm seeing a lot of B+. RTT says BCM is a solid B. B is for BCM. What? I'm thinking A tier. I'm thinking A, especially for value, right? Because if you can get a complete upper for like $800, that's kind of hard to beat for the money. So I'm thinking A tier. Maybe we can bring that down. Maybe you guys can convince me. A lot of A's coming in. A tier solid. A low A.
Okay, with a low A.
It's fair. All right. We have an entire category dedicated to this next.
No, bad.
Bad?
Listen, I've had my Bear Creek for 5 years, and I've put 10,000 rounds through it, and it's fine.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. Now, as somebody who has put 10,000 rounds through a Bear Creek Arsenal upper, you can get uppers that work perfectly fine.
No, but for real, mine just works.
Same. I had an upper that ran forever until the barrel swelled up and I couldn't get the gas block off anymore, and then I had to throw the whole thing away because I could no longer get it apart.
I had such good luck with mine that I mistakenly thought it was a good idea to recommend it to one of my friends.
Yes, and that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah, and he couldn't get around to chamber at all without like mortaring it. It was bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
It wouldn't chamber, it wouldn't extract. It was just bad. You
can get a Bear Creek Arsenal that performs as it should, like, you know, a $500 rifle or a $200 upper or something like that. And then you'll get like 3 in a row that don't. Then you'll get 3 in a row that do. And because of that, you can't recommend somebody play Russian roulette with a magazine-fed pistol. So it's kind of hard to recommend. Now, that being said, I might be buying another Bear Creek Arsenal upper in the next month or so for another build. Are they
still going to let you buy another Bear Creek Arsenal upper?
Well, they'll let me buy. They don't work with me anymore, but they'll let me buy stuff. They don't care about that.
Somebody said my audio's trash. My audio trash?
Oh, it sounds fine to me, although I'm wearing really nice headphones. So it sounds
Chad, is my audio trash?
Oh, Cheeseburger comes in with a good suggestion to add Sons of Liberty Gunworks. Do that. I'll do that.
If we're going to add Sons of Liberty Gunworks, and we're also going to add Focus Shooting LLC, because that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, but I mean, they do a really good job. So I don't have a problem with putting them in there. No. Well, stop moving the mic. Stop it. It sounds fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, fine.
All right. Nandermonium says, I'd rather get a Gen 1 PSA than Bear Creek Arsenal, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's fair. They're about the same price category, so. Wait a second. Richard comes in and says, I put an additional 5 cray through that side-charging BCA upper I got from you. How many did you have it when you sent it? Probably 1 to 2K. I don't remember how much I had on that one, but probably 2K. Again, you can get Bear Creek Arsenal uppers that do run, but it is a luck of the draw situation. Stephen Crumley says, don't buy BCA. It can legit be dangerous to the end user. It's true. I did watch Reno May just did a video on his.
That was entertaining.
Andrew Vachon comes in and says, BCA, it might work, which actually is their new slogan. Speaking of might work, Bushmaster, one of the big three, former big three. I'm kind of thinking D tier on Bushmaster. And because they aren't bringing back the ACR anytime soon, I'm going to put them down to no QC territory.
Yeah, I feel like you have a lot of opinions about your.
I do have some baggage
ACRs.
with Bushmaster. Kevin over on Rumble says, John, when is the AK content coming? I have magazines over there. I have like a whole box full of magazines. I don't own an AK. I also don't have any 7.60 by 39 here right now. So maybe. Oh, it's about to sound like a COD lobby. Don't worry. All right. My gosh. I'm trying to get to the bottom of the chat. It took me a second. All right. So Bushmaster, realistically, D tier or no QC?
I'm thinking no QC.
No QC. Fair enough.
I think we can put their new company up higher. So
now what's this meme thing that you included on this list?
Oops.
This is a you thing. This isn't a me thing. What is this called? The chow chow?
That's a show shot.
Chow shot. And it's French, right? So it's immediately a meme tier.
Yeah, no, it's just terrible.
All right. CMMG. This is a company that's actually doing a lot of really cool things.
Solidly
from
B.
their... Yeah, I was thinking B tier, but they have a lot of really cool options, whether it's the Mutant or the other internally contained recoil system ARs.
So
I think they actually...
I want to say B, but they won't sell to me. So I'm putting it, I want to say F, but like their quality is B tier or better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think solid B tier. I think I wouldn't put them any higher. They're not necessarily high value. They do have some cool options for sure. Well, so Seth Guns comes in and says, I enjoy outshooting lots of range rats with Anderson and Arrow builds. Yeah, no, absolutely. Skills will trump brand any day of the week, especially in a competition where you're only shooting like 100 rounds. Like I've gone through competitions with complete meme setups, but I only needed them to work for like the next 100 rounds, right? So, oh, sorry, I got rid of that. Van says, what about Blackout Defense? I'm actually not familiar with Blackout Defense. So to that, I have no idea. Furiously typing away, Blackout Defense. Seems nifty, but again, I don't have any information on them, so I probably can't put them on the list at this time. But thank you for the $2, sir. James Mason says CMMG is A tier. Never had any issues ever over multiple platforms. But does that automatically make them A tier, even if just no malfunctions is the base level? You know, that doesn't really say it. It's a positive indicator for their quality, but it doesn't actually say how well they're performing. If that makes sense. Black Rain, Blackout Defense. LWRC is on here. Don't worry. Blackout makes very nice rifles. CMMG Banshee. All right, moving on. We have Colt. Colt from 2007 is S tier. Colt from when they were the only manufacturer on the block making a modern AR, you know.
Was it though?
Yeah, back in the day, I would say it's what were your options at $1,200?
I mean, okay.
It was
So maybe
Colt
my experience
or
differs. My experience differs.
sure, go for
But
it.
because my experience with Colts and most FNs come in a military setting.
Mhm.
And the only lowers that we ever had go out of spec were Colts. So
Oh, nice.
that was in 2012.
Which Colt were you using?
They were A4s, M16
A4s.
A4s.
Oh, sick. My brother used an M16 A4 as well, so sick. But however, Vashon comes in and says Colt F tier, and because he paid me $2, I think that pushes it down into C tier.
Yeah, probably.
I think for $2. No, but realistically, if you're going out and buying a Colt today, unfortunately, you're buying a piece of mystery meat that's put together by at least 3 to 4 different companies, at least, if not more than that. I know Roscoe was supplying the barrels to Colt for a long time, which Roscoe makes good barrels. I don't have a problem with that, but they just shut down a lot of their own in-house manufacturing, which is actually funny because if I show you this, they're finishing out a $400 million contract for overseas development in like 3 different countries. They have a $383 million contract that isn't done until 2025. So you'd think they have some money to throw around for their own stuff, but apparently not. All right. Is it? Yeah, Jeffrey Pogsworth comes in and says, "But is it 2007?" The answer is no. No, it is not 2007. Arrow deserves to be moved down by Small Wiener. Well, if your username is anything to go by, sir, I don't know if we can move it down for that. Red Right Hand. Well, Red Right Hand is so specialized. And guess what? I just got his barrel in the mail today. It's sitting out in my shop. So I will be putting that into my own home-built LSW in the next couple weeks. But yeah, he makes good stuff. Very expensive, very specialized. I didn't put it on the list. 1968 Colt, better than 2008 Colt. Also very possible. The Weekend Gunner comes in and says LMT and LWRC is S tier. Now, I love LWRC, but I don't know if they're going to make it to S tier. Close, but I don't know. This guy loves Colt. He has been arguing for Colt all day. Username Ez says it's literally being used by the U.S. military right now. You gorilla. Yes, it is currently still in service in lots of places. Doesn't mean that it's good. Doesn't mean that it's good. Do we not have PWS on this list? PWS should probably be on.
I know. I forgot PWS.
Okay, we'll put
and
PWS. Write it. Could you write it down in the private chat so I have that? Otherwise, I'm going to forget about it. BCM and ADM on the same level. Bring BCM down 1 tier. Well, we'll finalize it towards the end because it's probably going to move around just a little bit. Just a little bit. Geissele S tier. Mikey, my man.
We are not putting Bill in S tier.
Bill's S tier. Bill's not only S tier. Bill is top of S tier.
We are not putting Bill in S tier.
RTT says Modern Colt is PSA tier. See, that's kind of where it's at. It's like you're buying a mystery meat upper. So maybe it's good. Maybe. We have Q on the list. Yeah, Q's on here. They'll be put in a tier for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, my Colts have RAM. What's funny is I had a Colt 6933, and then I put it up against the Delton clone, and the Delton shot better. So for like 1/2 the cost. So that's awkward. That's awkward. Ooh, Red Flagule Defense F tier by Nandermonium. It's very possible. Very possible we put them down a little bit. Okay, but speaking of which, we should... Gosh, there's so many of the chats moving a little bit faster than I'm used to. And thank you to all 428 of you here right now. Go ahead and hit the like button if you haven't already. But with that out of the way, Daniel Defense, I'm going to jump you into B tier.
I mean, yeah, I suppose if you're a school shooter, bring that down one.
Right. State sponsored. It's always the same one too. So my arguments against Daniel Defense. I hate the wrist rail. I hate the
Agreed.
wrist 2. I hate the wrist 3 rail. I've used them on a lot of customer builds. I hate them. I hate installing them. I hate working on them. They're heavy. They don't work as well as people think they do, unless you're mounting a grenade launcher. Most of us aren't mounting a grenade launcher, so they end up just being heavy, obnoxious to work on things. Also, they don't really do anything special. Their BCGs are just mil-spec BCGs. Their upper wrists are fine. Their barrels are good barrels. They are a little bit overgassed, and their muzzle devices are nothing special. Their prices are also anywhere from $500 to $700 more expensive than other companies that produce better products. So I am not personally very interested in Daniel Defense, and I've never put up a video on Daniel Defense, but I've had to shoot a lot of customers and work on a lot of customers' Daniel Defense uppers and parts. Not really a huge fan for the money.
Yeah,
We
I think I
should
can
be.
agree with B tier. I think
Yeah,
I
B
think
tier.
I can agree
B
with
tier.
B tier.
Because like
IB, B
them
plus.
them and BCM kind of do the same thing, but the BCM, I like the handguard system more. It's certainly lighter, and they're half the cost. Not quite half. They're like 60% of the cost. They're very expensive compared to Daniel Defense. And you might even argue that BCM is better than Daniel Defense. Rifles First says, I've had to shoot a lot of customers. You are not wrong. I won't stop showing up at my house. Colton Owen says DD is boring. Exactly. But their prices are not boring. Their pricing is quite exciting.
I mean, if you want to get a good rifle out of the box, Daniel Defense is a way to go.
Sure. Yeah, no. You're not going to get
It's
a
a
Daniel
way to
Defense
go.
that's going to fall apart on you, but it's going to be heavier and it's going to be more expensive. Devin England says BCM is better than DD. Scott Nichols asks about Centurion arms. I have absolutely no experience with Centurion, but I'd be happy to hear your opinion on them, sir.
Boring is safe. Boring is reliable. Agreed.
That's a fair point, but again, BCM is going to be just as boring and reliable for 40% less money, right?
I'd pick Bendy Bill over Marty Red Flag Daniel. Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. Weekend Gunner says, I'm here for the next 2 ratings. No specific reason. What, Desert Tech and Delta Team Tactical next to each other? That's just coincidence. That's crazy. PWS, we're going to put PWS on. Don't worry about that. Airborne Ivan says LWRC M6IC is the best bang for buck. They're kind of expensive, but I do like LWRC. CZCZ301 says PWS should be on the list. It will be. We'll add it. We have a few to add at the very end. Sorry about that.
PWS and LWRC are not LWRC. POF are coming.
Okay, yeah, we'll put them on. We'll put them on. No, Sim, no. Anyways, Nick says Mark 18 is based. Block 2 is based. I agree. I like both those systems. The Mach 18, which is one of my favorite uppers to make. It's just silly, but it's obviously a play on the Daniel Defense Mark 18, which is, do you remember their civilian Mark 18s were bored out to a .086 gas blocks or gas port size, and the military contract versions were .070, which is the crane spec. And then it took them like 6 or 7 years to update their civilian spec to be like their military spec. So Daniel Defense was literally like, hey, we're selling these to retards who just want the name Mark 18, so we're not going to build it like our military Mark 18s. We're going to make it shoot horribly. So thanks, DD, for that. Oh, by the way, that'll be $2,500. XL Tom says, I prefer the freedom over profit mentality. I agree, sir. And Sim D's Nuts says, is HK going to be our only S tier? Sir, HK is not going to be S tier. I'm very sorry to inform you. Now, keep in mind, this is ARs. So in terms of ARs, HK really only has the 416 and 417, and those are not going to be touching S tier. Joshua says HK F tier. They don't care about civilians. Now, not unless you got a lot of money to throw around. But Delta Team Tactical, I think there's only one realistic rating for these guys. And I actually just finished filming. Sorry, actually just finished filming my video for Delta Team Tactical on one of their upper receivers, which was actually assembled properly. So even though my latest experience has been good, if I was recommending them to somebody else, I would put them in the no QC category. I have a very funny story about their rifle that fell apart on me, which was apparently a picture rifle, not for sale, not for sending out. And that's the rifle they decided to send to me. Very funny. All right. Do you have any complaints about Delta Team Tactical in no QC?
I don't even know anything about them.
They're just a part.
You're the only person I know of to shill for them.
Shill? What are you talking about?
I mean,
unbelievable. Unbelievable. Burrito Man asks, Munition Works, A tier? Question mark. I am familiar with the company. Have you ever, Hop is friends with the owner and has done some videos on their stuff. They used to be Militia Works and they had to change into Munition Works. I've looked at their website. I haven't personally tried their stuff. Value is good and they're put together well. I have not personally tried them yet though. But A tier would be tough. I'd have to try them and they'd have to perform really well for me to put them in A tier, but that's not out of the question. All right. Austin Boston says, gun tubers, shilling, impossible. No offense, Focus. None taken, sir. None taken. All right, let's see. Desert Tech. So we just did their Quattro lower receiver on the channel, and I didn't have any issues with the lower.
If we're rating if we're just doing ARs,
that's it. That's all they got. They got the Quattro. What else do you want?
That's going to be a sad moment because I really like Desert Tech stuff.
The lower receiver is $300. It's ambidextrous, and it takes their Q mags, but you can also use regular mags with their insert. So where do you put a $300 novel design like that?
Shoot, that could be good.
Sorry. I just got the notification. Their check did come through, so automatic S tier. Automatic S tier.
Absolutely S tier.
Thanks for that. Anyways, actually, this channel is sponsored by Desert Tech. No, just kidding. Realistically, though, B? Like, it doesn't do anything bad. C? Yeah, it's a good value for an ambidextrous loader. That's all we got. All we got is the Quattro for Desert Tech.
If we're just talking about ARs, then I can't see. I've never played with a Quattro, so this is all going to be you. But it seems like it couldn't be any higher than B, and probably closer to a C.
Right. We'll leave it in C for right now. We'll leave it in C because maybe we'll move it around towards the end. Yeah, I think C kind of fits. Talk to Lance, man. Talk to Lance, Richard. He's in the chat right now. Yell at him. Clamp. He wants adapters. Richard says Desert Tech needs to make adapters that clamp onto PMags instead of mounting into the magwell. So instead of having something to swap out on the lower, you just take your fat extension PMags and put them into the lower, if that makes sense. All right. Durkin Tactical. Straight to no QC. Are you familiar with Durkin at all?
I'm not.
Okay, they're
another parts company. You said something about them.
Well, funny you should mention that. I have videos on them that have never been published years and years ago. So these are for gun.deals. These are unlisted videos that have never been shown off. That I've done with the 8.5-inch and a 16-inch upper. If you look at this suppressor, this is a homemade Form 1 suppressor on an 8.5-inch barrel. And this is the last video in which this suppressor was ever used. So let's just leave it at that, shall we? But these videos have never gone live. They are unlisted. You can probably technically find them somehow. But both of them, both the 8.5-inch that you're seeing now, which I can I play a second of this? Horribly overgassed. And again, this video has never been live. But both of them kind of fell apart. The gas blocks got loose. The handguards came loose. Just kind of the normal thing that you would see. And then I also have their 16-inch version as well, which kind of the same design, had the exact same issues. The handguard came loose. The gas block came loose in not very many rounds, like 200 rounds or whatnot. But these videos went up for the Gun.Deals channel, and they were never made public. So, and that was not a me call. That was because I don't own Gun.Deals. I just make videos for them, and they never wanted them put out public. So, but I did also get a D tier for Durkin. Yeah, probably not D tier. Probably no QC, because I think that's the problem. If they were just assembled properly, I don't think we would have the same issue. All right, let's put that up. We don't need those tabs anymore. All right, so no QC for Durkin. Although the Fostech Echo Sport that I got, I did actually get from Griffin and Ktactical, because they do sell other stuff as well. And I got it for $205, which for a binary trigger is pretty darn good. All right, next up, Faxon.
That's a Faxon.
It's really hard to see, but that is Faxon. I am a dealer for Faxon barrels. I've talked to the guys at Faxon. Very nice people. Very, very, very easy to work with. I don't like a lot of their stuff. I'm not really into super lightweight barrels. They're big gunner profiles. They're lightweight profiles. I'm much more of a standard milquetoast AR-15 guy. I like the Geissele taper profile. Spoiler alert. I like the Ballistic Advantage Hansen. I like the Criterion hybrid profile. A plethora of good profiles out there, but extremely lightweight stuff, it's just not really my thing. And they also tend to be really overgassed and not crazy accurate. Not terrible, but not crazy accurate. So I'm thinking C tier at best.
Faxon, Arrow, Ballistic Advantage, all the same. I tend to agree.
Mm. Did I miss a super chat? You put that up on the screen.
I did.
I missed like 300 comments on here. Nick says, this is fun for $5. Thank you, Nick. It is fun. I'm enjoying this. Thank you. And I thought this would be fun to chat with everybody, and we can argue about how wrong I am, poke fun at me and whatnot. All right. Rifles First says, Faxon, BA, Arrow, all the same to me. Well, BA and Arrow are sister companies, so they are literally the same. Faxon is its own thing, so they're a little different. They're like more lightweight specialized, let's say. B for Faxon, says the Bald Fox. That's fair enough. John Doe says Faxon is in the same tier as Roscoe. Training, beater barrels. Well, I would actually put Roscoe higher than Faxon, because I've had better gassing with Roscoe, except for their purebred barrels, which are actually undergassed, and I have to personally open them up when I get them here. But they're superbly accurate in a lower price category, not super cheap, but lower price category, and they work very well. I have never had a Roscoe barrel that was not accurate.
What rating are Focus Shooting LLC uppers? The ones on the website are...
Oh, yeah. Well, everything on the website right now is top tier, of course. But
the ones on the website right now are missing.
Missing. Everything is missing.
Solidly Bs.
I'm a hype beast company. Mm-hmm. I don't actually make products. They're never in stock. Yeah, actually today or yesterday, I sold out of my last upper I had in stock. They'll be back next week. I'll have 18-inch SPR uppers and 16-inch dissipator uppers next week. All right. Miles Soul says, looks like Radio Autists lost money when switching to Geico. Man, some people cannot catch a break. Rifles First says possibly Roscoe OEM, question mark. Roscoe OEMs for everybody. I've used Roscoe's OEM service before. They will do anything you want. Literally anything. So if there's a company out there and you're like, I wonder who they're getting their barrels from, it's probably Roscoe. All right, moving on to FN.
First test here.
Yeah, first test here. I don't know about that. So one of my more controversial, not really controversial, but one of my other videos that I put up was on the FN Guardian, which is a $1,000 rifle that has no FN parts in it. They're getting the handguard from a white label armory. It's a 6061 billet upper. It's a black nitride barrel from somebody else. It's a $1,000 rifle that is literally the same as like the Delta Team Tactical Journeyman rifle, almost the exact same parts list for double the money. So now FN does make some really good stuff, and actually their upper line of rifles, they're using Midwest Industries handguards, and then of course their FN barrels and whatnot, really good BCGs. Their BCGs in the military contract, part of that is actually from AO Precision, which I actually use in my upper receivers. I use the true mil-spec BCGs, Carpenter 158, all that sort of fun stuff in my upper receivers because they're the best bang for buck. But I would have a hard time putting them in S tier. But I would like to hear your argument.
I mean, every FN I've ever touched has been amazing. Amazingly accurate, amazingly well gassed. I think that the FN M16 AR-15 style rifles are absolutely S tier. But if we are including everything else in the list, they were getting drugged down by the fact that they're charging $4,000 for a SCAR.
Yes, but also we're not really considering too many non-AR parts here. Because, I mean, there are lots of other companies in this that make, like, non-AR stuff. Like HK. HK only has the 416, really. And that's barely an AR. Now, Andrew Vachon comes in with $4.99. Thank you very much, sir. And he says, FN barrels are second to none. The rifles are mid. Now, FN barrels that you buy secondhand, because I have access to dealer pricing on FN barrels. I've used them in my own personal builds as well as customer builds. They're usually M4 or government profile barrels, which are a little bit older. They are extremely accurate. In terms of their gassing, they're usually set to the Crane spec, which for a 16-inch mid-length gun is .076. But I usually have to dimple them here because they do not dimple them at the factory. So I've never had a FN barrel that wasn't accurate, but they're not necessarily my favorite profiles and not necessarily like pinned or dimpled from the factory. And that opinion was so harsh that Gary just dropped out. Sorry, man. Kevin says the FN M16A4 is very good. I miss mine from my time in. Yeah, my brother used a M16A4 as well and only had good things to say about it from what I've heard. Leaf Rubinoff comes in with $1.99. Thank you very much, sir. And he says nothing and walks away slowly. Emptor543 says the FN with the billet upper sucks. That's all right. I kind of agree with you. It's a cheap rifle, upscaled. Come back when you can. Yeah, Gary got disconnected, so he will make it back if he can. Richard says, FN is C tier, simply because of Guardian. Rip Gary. I agree, sir. I agree. All right, let's see. Oh, buddy. Gary's gone for this. That's two. We'll skip it. No, we'll skip the next two. Because I do want to have Gary here for those. Because I'm going to be very controversial with Geissele and HK. IWI, however, I'm putting C tier. Now, I've heard good things about their Zion rifles. I have personally not shot one. I know that they're not particularly expensive. They have pretty nice features. They tend to work. But with no firsthand experience, I can't put them any higher than C, although it's possible they could be a B tier. So Andrew Vachon comes in with another 199. Says fair points. Would love FN to make a handsome profile. Yeah, just update the profile in some way. Ferrum Armory LLC says if PSA isn't S tier, we riot. Well, you better get your pitchforks now, sir. That's what I'll say. Brian Isaacs comes in with $2 and says, what happened to the Olight stream? And I say YouTube killed it. About 4 minutes in. However, this stream is backed up on Rumble. So there should be a pinned chat that has the Rumble link. So if this goes down, that should still be live, in theory.
Oh, sorry about that. I think I'm back.
No problem. Yep, I hear you. I see you. You're looking a little fuzzy, but you're back. Leaf Rubinoff comes back in and he says, Wolfpack Armory. Thanks, Hop. I don't know if you meant to send that one twice or if you just forgot to type in the first one, but thank you very much, Leaf. I've heard good and bad things about Wolfpack. I heard some issues with their non-reared and stuff, but I haven't personally tried them out yet. All right. Now here is the controversial thing today. Oh, sorry. Go
what would Stoner do? Best of the best. No, it isn't.
Yeah, I also disagree with that one. I was never a fan of that.
I have one of the lowest.
I was super edgy, though. Oh, how do you like it?
It's light. It doesn't fit most triggers. The safety is sloppy. The buffer system is shit. It's not in use for anything higher than a 22 LR, but it works well for a 22 LR.
Stunning review. So everybody should go out and buy one now.
What would Stoner do? Belongs in the trash right next to Carl the Commie.
Carl the Commie.
Agreed.
Oof. Catastrophe. All right. Well, Rifles First says that's sarcasm, folks. Okay. Just checking. All right. Now for my controversial pick.
No, bad.
S tier. The best of
you
the
put
best.
Bendy Bill in B tier where he belongs.
Oof. No. He can't go any lower. He can't go any lower than S tier. There is nobody.
Bendy Bill
there is nobody that can compete with Geissele. All right. I gotta walk through that. The other day, Geissele had on sale one of their black 14.5s, complete rifle, Mark 16 rail, Super Duty upper, RE BCG, cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel, bomb proof, dimpled and pinned gas block, Geissele SAEX trigger. I want to say $1,200 for a complete rifle. $1,200. Unbeatable. Sub MOA, perfectly gassed, intermediate gas system length as well. Proprietary nano weapon coated BCG. Their airborne charging handle. $1,200 out the door. Unbeatable. S tier. Even at regular prices of say $1,500 to $1,600, I think Geissele still S tier.
Nobody is better than Geissele, according to Geissele himself.
Well, yes.
Agreed.
Yes. Bendy Bill
Geissele
himself.
is the best
So
in
that's
his
the
own
thing.
head.
We're not rating Bendy Bill. You know, I'm rating their products, specifically their newer products. Like, if you want to pick out like their old Mark 13 rails and Mark 14 rails are really bad.
I'll agree with you that it's an A-tier rifle, but they definitely have some QC issues, and their rails are far too lightweight and far too bendy for them to be considered S tier.
If you remember their original rails, their Mark 4 and Mark 8s, they were very thick, very heavy. Everybody complained about them because they're essentially big, chunky quad rails that they machined down to M-lock. So the Mark 4 is M-lock and pick at the end, and the Mark 8 is just full M-lock. But they start out as huge, chunky quad rails. So everybody's complaining about their lightweight handguards, right? Or their heavy handguards. So they come out with their Mark 13 and Mark 14 rails, which are super slim, super thin, very lightweight. And guess what? They're also very bendy. And so because of the market pressure to make a really slim, lightweight rail, they went way too far and made a rail that is not very durable whatsoever. But The newest iteration of the rail, which is the Mark 16, adds a little bit more material, 7-sided M-lock, not the slimmest on the market, but one of my personal favorites. Rock solid lockup. Fantastic. So if we're rating the older Mark 13, Mark 14 rails, I would agree that we can knock them down a little bit. But currently, when you combo really good rails, really good barrels, maybe the best BCG on the market, good charging handles, good upper receivers, great triggers as well. I mean, they got to be, I would say S tier. But I mean, you can argue A tier for them. Sure. That's my position.
I
can't be swayed. I can't be swayed.
Well, you have control of the
Andrew
spring,
Vachon comes in with another. It's true. It's true. I literally cannot be swayed. Andrew Vachon comes in for $5. Says, Bendy Bill is S tier. You will LaRue the day you crossed me. That being said, I spent $2K on SSA triggers. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we don't like Bendy Bill. We don't like Geissele, but the triggers are the best on the market.
No, they're not. Not even close.
Not for lightness, but I do like my G2S, which is like the cheapest trigger that they make. But I like that it's not the lightest trigger out there.
The cheapest trigger they make is how much?
$99 on sale. Regularly like $130. Which is not particularly cheap, but I do like the G2S because it's heavy enough to where I'm very confident in it that I'm not going to like accidentally break a shot. Catastrophe says Geissele is A at regular cost and S plus at less than $1,500. And again, they had that Super Duty rifle on for $1,200, which is a crazy price. Dutch says, if PSA makes it B tier or better, this list is a joke. I don't think they're making B tier. I don't think they're making B tier. All right. HK. This is going to hurt. I think the HK 416 is kind of bad. I think it's kind of bad. I think that it caused a lot of problems, not only with the way that the gas block was set up, and of course they were violently overgassed as well. They were so overgassed that they had to put in a firing pin safety in the BCG to make sure that it wouldn't slam fire during full auto, and with their excessive rate of fire due to the fact the system was overgassed. Now, when Chris Soroyce and the other gentleman, Robert Hurt, came over to SIG, they basically retooled it into the SIG 516, which is much better, much softer gas, lightweight system, no more firing pin safety. I think the system just works overall better. And then, of course, they do the same thing at Caracal, make it more sand optimized and marginally better / worse, but HK 416 for the money, for the performance, C tier. Nick says the Fed rail looks sick, to be honest. It does. It does indeed. It's like $400, $500 something. It's ridiculously expensive. The Bald Fox says, knock down Bill a notch for cutting out the ODG anodization. Sorry about that, man. Airborne Ivan says, oop, I lost him. Where'd he go? Airborne Ivan says, Geissele Super Duty MSRP is over $2,000. At $1,200, you have a good point, but that's kind of cherry picking. Sure, yeah, which is why I was saying at $1,200, it's unbeatable. Now, usually, even though MSRP is $2,000, you can usually find the black ones somewhere between $1,400 and $1,600 usually. And then again, they go on crazy sales. Even at $1,400 to $1,600, dollar for dollar, they're hard to beat. Because not only do they do the basics at a very high level, they actually have better components as well. Lincoln Chen says, I have a proof barrel on my AR and it's better than all stuff on the list. You might be wrong. Or sorry, you might be right. Proof barrels are well renowned for being fantastic in just about every regard other than price. But as they're not really a manufacturer of AR, they are basically a dedicated parts company, like a barrel company, basically. It's hard to put them on the list, if that makes sense. Sebastian Morrison says no PWS. Don't worry, we will be putting PWS on the list. It'll come in at the end. Texas roster says HK D tier. And then, of course, the duality of man. Simacool says W2F. Blasphemy. CMG is better than HK. Insane.
Not wrong, though.
It might be. Rifles First says the MR556 is a pig. I agree. It's very heavy. It's very overgassed. It's very overpriced. Airborne Ivan says HK is overrated. Their 416 is certainly overrated. It was used by a lot of cool people and in a lot of cool media. Other than that, I don't really like it. Ying says Caracal better than HK? Question mark. Well, see, Chris Sorois and Robert Hurt moved from. Robert Hurt was originally at HK, and then him and Chris Sorois went to, or I might have that backwards. They went to SIG and then to Caracal. So the same two engineers are kind of making their way through these other companies. So it's not that Caracal is better; it's that they have really good engineers. EAS loves his DD Block 2. He says DD Block 2 trumps all this. If you like it, you like it. It's fine. Dutch07 says C tier is agreed with HK. Yeah, sweet. All right. Isaac comes in with the $2 and says, no Griffin armament. They're good at copying CAC. Yeah, Gary's hopping in and out. He's having some issues, so we'll go ahead and kick him out for right now. He'll come back. But yeah, they're cheaper than CAC, which is a good thing. I tested their Mark 1 upper receiver. Thought it was fine. It's $1,200 roughly for just the upper receiver without a muzzle device. So again, not really exciting for the money. Performance was fine for the money. They do have their new Mark II lowers, which are ambidextrous, so that could be cool. But I haven't tried their full rifles, so not that. Even though I have put like 1,200 rounds through one of their uppers, I don't have that much experience with them in general. All right, Ktactical, straight into meme tier. Ktactical, if you are not familiar, or if you are. They are a meme upper receiver company, parts company that does like kawaii anime type stuff. And I have, in the past, tested out one of their 5-inch 5.56 uppers. That was a bit blasty, just a bit. So it goes straight into meme territory because they are legitimately a meme company. But their stuff actually works pretty well. Even if it is drastically or very expensive. It's very expensive. I think this upper that you're looking at right now is like $2,000. All right, let's get back to the tier list. RTT says, I wish I had $1 for every person that I've ever seen say my XYZ is better than everything else XYZ. I'd be a rich man. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. All right. Nandemonium says, we hate Weeb Tactical. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. What do we got? We got Knights Armament.
S tier.
Got to be S tier.
And they actually belong there.
Hey, that's mean.
I
they
mean,
make great stuff. There's no doubt about
every
it.
time you sim for Geissele, my internet goes out. So
Geissele's the best, man. What can I say? Bill Geissele himself is monitoring your internet connection, and every time you're trying to interject, he's sitting there cutting the wires to make sure you can't interject and let me continue on my Geissele simping ways.
That is exactly what's happening right now.
But Knights Armament, yeah, they do. Not only do they do the basics very well, all their stuff is specialized and actually improved upon basic stuff. So like BCM, again, does the basics to a very high level. Knights Armament actually does more than that. And they take it the extra step. Not only do they do the basics very well, but everything their stuff is gone through, improved, so on and so forth. The one thing against them, though, is the price. The price is insane. But when you're the best, you can do whatever you want.
I think you got that in the wrong spot. LaRue Tactical makes the best triggers. They make the best triggers for the AR platform. Their upper assemblies are $1,200 out the door. That used to be that you could get the entire kit, lower included, for like $900.
That's a good price.
Like they'll do that on Black Fridays.
Okay.
And we're talking about a $3,000 rifle for $1,200. So, or $900. So yeah,
now,
they're
I like LaRue. I've used a couple of their products. Their upper receiver and handguard sets are kind of ridiculous. The ones that actually like bolt together on the outside. I think those are really cool. It's like a truly free floated system. If the prices, if they're like under $2,000, I think we can start to talk about S tier for them. My only thing with them is that they also do just a lot of like nonsense stuff, like fun trolling type stuff with a lot of their things, you know, let them out with just random products for absolutely no one. But I'm not saying that their stuff isn't good.
Guilty as charged. Death to the wage slave. Absolutely guilty as charged.
All right. Catastrophe says LaRue is mid A tier. See, I was thinking more A tier.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
But I think we'll leave it an S tier for right now. I think we'll leave it an S tier for right now. All right. LMT. Probably also S tier. Probably also S tier.
Go to your private chat and look at the link that I just sent you.
No. Uh-oh. I don't know what I'm looking at here. What is this? So now I gotta do too much reading. You gotta explain this to me. This is a freaking quality control LMT. No forward assist on it for some reason. Okay, so LMT did send out a bad upper is what it looks like. That link is basically just saying that LMT had a quality control issue on one of their uppers that they send out. I don't know if that knocks them out of S tier.
I've seen
now I'd be happy to
things, but like of the S tier brands, of which LMT should potentially be one of them. I've seen more QC complaints about LMT than anything else.
Okay. All right. You convinced me. A tier. I do think that LMT does a lot of things well, if not the best out there. But again, they're very expensive. Now, what's funny about them is they were the first ones to come out with a 14.565 Creedmoor, the MRGG. And then Geissele this year was like, hey, we can do that too. So they put out a $7,000 14.565 Creedmoor, and it's the Joy or whatever it is, MRGG. And but LMT was the first one pushing that sort of thing. And they are a cool company. So A tier with better QC, they'd be S tier. How about that?
Probably agreed with that.
Andrew Vachon comes in with another 199 saying C-Note is based. C-Note is the silliest thing I have ever seen. But it is funny. Actually, you know what? You should combine a C-Note with a Daniel Defense Mark 18. And I think that is your ultimate compact PDW setup. Tyler K says the C-Note alone is S tier. LMT is S. LMT is S. LMT is S. LMT is S. LaRue stays S because of the C-Note. The C-Note. It's all LMT is S plus the C-Note comments. That's all I see. C-Note Master Race. I forgot about the C-Note.
Well, they're not even mentioned the Accurizer.
Oh, the Accurizer, yeah. No Names comes in and says C-Note Supremacy. F having optics. Based take. Based C-Note enjoyer. All right. Let's see. RTT says LMT is overpriced. They're nice, but cost more than they're worth. See, that I agree with. But I agree that with basically everything in A and S tier. Again, Geissele, when compared to some of these other brands, is like a value brand. Geissele and LaRue. Like, if you can get a complete rifle for under $1,500, like that's very cheap compared to the rest of these S and A tier brands. I can't talk right now. Relaxation Destination says Blackout Defense for $199. Thank you, sir. No experience with them, sir. So unfortunately, I cannot comment further about that. All right, LWRC. Now, I love LWRC, but I kind of think they should be A tier more than S tier for a very odd reason. So I believe they do business out of Maine, which means that all of their rifles have to have a heavy barrel. And because they have to have a heavy barrel, they have to do this crazy fluting stuff with a lot of their builds. So you lose some value there because you can't just start with a better profiled barrel. So if you pick up like their 16-inch mid-length ICDI is like $1,500, if not a little bit more, but it starts its life as a very, very heavy barrel that they then have to spiral flute down to a middleweight profile barrel. So it's a lot of extra work for the same end goal. Now, I've owned the 12.7 LWRC and the 16-inch LWRC ICDIs, and I really, really liked both of them. Fantastically accurate, very overgassed. I do not know why they don't just gas their barrels properly from the factory. If you look at the way they're assembled, their monolithic upper, their handguards, fantastic. The way the gas blocks are press fit to the barrels, and then they have a, I forget the name of the pin, somebody else can leave it, but they have a taper pin tapering them to the barrel. There is no chance of them shifting whatsoever. Their BCGs are a keyless one-piece system, so they do not have a gas key on their BCGs. Their charging handles are very good. If they would just gas their barrels properly, I think they would be A tier, or sorry, S tier. S tier all day. And if they didn't live in a state where they make heavy barrels. Go for it.
I just wanted to correct you real quick. You said that they're based out of Maine. Maine doesn't have an HBAR requirement. They're based out of Maryland.
Maryland.
LWRC. Yeah, Maryland has the HBAR requirement. And I saw somebody ask, why is there an HBAR requirement? Because politicians are stupid.
Yes. Yeah, it's some sort of like sporting requirement or something like that. Yeah. So, but again, that's not in their control, so it's kind of hard to hold that against them. But at the same time, it's not my fault. I just have to live with the consequences of those actions. So, Jonathan Velez comes in and says, Noveske, ? They deserve to be next to Geissele. Now, I might actually be getting I might actually be getting a Noveske pretty soon. Noveske makes. I mean, I know that they make a lot of cool-ish stuff, and people really like their stuff. But I haven't really seen anything super special out of them. And as of this moment, I have no experience with Noveske whatsoever. So now it's in B tier, but I can move that to wherever I want. What are you thinking, Gary, for Noveske? You might have more experience than I do.
I don't know anything about them. I haven't had any firsthand experience with them. I've heard from other people that they used to be really good and their quality's fallen off over the past like 5 years. So
from what I'm getting from the chat, apparently their owner died, and they were an S tier company. Oh, I didn't know that. Very sorry to hear that. But apparently it has actually gone downhill since then. So that is sad to hear. Dutch says November is B tier. I agree. November is not my favorite month. Rifles first said Obama had John killed. That is sad to hear. Tomahawk comes in and says, I just want something called the Ghetto Blaster. Desk Pop comes in and he says, I have a Geissele bolt with 65,000 rounds on it in my rifle. That's right, because they use Carpenter 158 plus material, which they worked specifically with Carpenter steels to manufacture a proprietary steel that was better than mil spec. I definitely agree with S tier. I've never seen a bolt last this long. And again, you can get all of that for $1,200 on sale. $1,500, $1,600 standard. So pretty darn good deal. Cody Apathy says Desk Pop in chat. Yeah, I've never seen him around here before. Desk Pop says, you know, I'm in the chat, G. Yes, he is. Oh,
I think I've seen you guys
lots of love
at
for
my
Desk Pop.
local range.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're local to me.
That's cool. All right, what's next? Palmetto State Armory, right? They have to be in C tier, right?
They're S tier.
Oh,
absolutely
you're right.
S tier.
You're right. Yeah. Actually, sorry. Right there.
Top of S tier. Yeah.
Top of S tier. There is all bow down to Palmetto State Armory supremacy. No, but seriously, C tier at best, maybe B tier at best. However, they also tend to have not very much QC on a lot of their products. I've tested their Saber lineup. I've tested their basic lineup. And I think actually, now that I think about it, I think 2 or 3 out of the 4 products that I've tried from them have had major QC issues. So maybe they do actually belong in the no QC category, which doesn't necessarily mean that they're terrible. It just means that they don't have very good QC. What are you thinking, Gary?
I mean, I can agree with that. I also have a problem with Palmetto because I went there to buy. I went there to one of their stores in South Carolina, and they wouldn't let me buy a revolver because of where I'm at. Like they wouldn't sell me any serialized items because of my address. So, like they just have a cheat sheet behind the counter for where they won't sell.
Yeah, because you're Washington based, they were like, nah, screw this guy.
Yeah, even though revolvers are totally cool.
Huh. John Doe says they should be in the just as good Cope tier. I didn't bring in a Cope tier. I probably should have. A Cope tier would have been funny. Because that would have been good.
That was on my original tier list.
Oh, Cope. Yeah, Cope would have been good, actually, because then people would have, like, we could have just put all of the ones in there that people say is really high quality and just as good. Bear Creek Arsenal could have fit in that as well, but all right. Bert asks, is El Jefe good for a first rifle? I would not buy one because it comes with a red dot, doesn't it? And it comes with like a bad rebrand knockoff red dot, which you don't want. So, hey, what did you do? You moved away my comment. Sorry, we'll get to that in just a second, Gary. Yeah, so Bert, the El Jefe rifle, if you can get it on a good deal, it's probably fine, but it's not necessarily what I would jump out and grab first. Nandemonium says PSA boys when they see QC issues is just hilarious. I agree. Dustin SILC, Dustin Silk. This whole PSA S tier joke is giving me heart palpitations. Yeah, no, it's not real. It's not real. Even though they did send me a Jackal. So I'm actually getting a Jackal from them tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So I will have a Jackal review up for sure. Falcmation says D tier for sure. Gabe says C+. Yeah, so we're looking the C, D, no QC territory. Amara Man says, what do you mean? My favorite shill tuber told me it was just as good. I know, your favorite corporate fluff piece told you that. Your PSA is good to go. Turns out that was not the case. Or turns out it was the case, but only for the first 500 rounds. Dimitri R comes in and he says PSA is C or D, not a QC tier. They produce so much, you just hear more about them. For the price, it's fairly good. So, I mean, I could understand that because, listen, Palmetto State Armory has got their fingers in every single pie on the windowsill. Like, it is absolutely insane the amount of products they bring to market and are trying to bring to market at the same time. So, I mean, yeah. And I think part of that also creates more issues when you have to try and do 20 different things at the same time. Your QC department can only do so much, can only be trained so well on each individual sector. So, yeah, man, I could not fathom being the QC manager at Palmetto State Armory when they're pumping out 10 new uppers and 5 new AKs and new shotguns, new bolt action rifles, the FN57 thing that they're doing, or not the FN57, the MP7 at home that they're doing soon. Like, all of the different things that they're trying to do at the same time would be a nightmare to try and keep all that straight. Whitey Shark says, did you do CAC yet? Keep your CAC clean. I agree. You should always clean and lubricate your CAC. But no, we have not done them. And thank you,
CAC was
Whitey
supposed to
Shark,
make it on the
$5.
list.
CAC was supposed to make the list, you said?
Yeah.
Despop says, we had a PSA come into the shop and butter was hand tight. Also, they won't ship a Glock slide to us. That is hyper lame. Super, super lame. James W says, Anderson Poverty Pony S tier? Question mark? Maybe. Probably
Absolutely.
Not. Probably not, though. So I do have, I think, 2 Anderson lowers. And they kind of drop free magazines when they want. You know, the trigger pins, like, they kind of fit. They technically fit in upper receivers. Andrew Vachon comes in for $199 and says, no QC. The good prices, they have good prices, but you have to rebuild them. Yeah. That is nothing with a lot of cheap brands, cheap manufacturers. A lot of the times you just have to go through it and do your own QC, rebuild them. And, you know, sure, you're saving a couple $100 on the front end, but then you're putting in all that time, labor, energy, dealing with all that aggravance, annoyance later on. So sometimes saving money is a very annoying process. Kyle says that is true. PSA won't sell to Washington residents basically anything. Sad day. That is a sad day. And I lived there for 27 years. So I got out basically right as they... Deskpop comes in and he says, put Q in the no QC territory. Wouldn't that be ironic? No Q in QC. I've had 3 of their guns broken, and he did want them to work. Let's see. Q is next up. I forgot we had a list to keep going through. Q. B tier? B tier, maybe?
I think we can agree with B tier. As long as we're talking...
Your audio quality went down a little bit, by the way.
Did it go down?
Mm-hmm.
Did it go down?
Yes, sir. I didn't do it.
I think we can agree with B tier as long as we're not talking about any of their stuff with proprietary parts. Because the moment we start talking proprietary parts, it's going down even further.
Like, in theory, I really like their fix. I've never been a fan of whatever their honey badger thing. I've never really been a fan of that. I'm not the biggest 300 blackout guy to begin with. I'm not the biggest 8.6 blackout guy either. But even just their kind of standard 16-inch 5.56, I think it's the Sugar Weasel or something like that. They're about $1,500, 6 pounds. Come with a really accurate barrel, really good trigger. Deskpop says that the QC is not good, but from what I've heard, I don't have any experience. Probably put them in B tier, although I could be convinced to put them anywhere. And obviously, if we're rating Kevin, then the rating system might change a little bit.
I mean, if we're rating their marketing, they go way down. Same with Noveske, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. If we have to rate the companies off of how they behave, then that gets a little murky. Jesse Patterson says Munition Works on the list. I have no experience with them. However, I believe Hop has some videos on them, and probably other guys as well. And from what I've heard, they are pretty good. So maybe go check out those videos to get a better understanding. Anthony Rodriguez said Focustripp should do a LPVO tier list. That's on the list of things to do. Sarge 930 says throw Hodge into the cope category. Yeah, I've only ever heard bad things about Hodge, which is crazy for such a hype beast company. You think they would like be better. Sorry, Hodge. Deskpop coming in with the insider info says also some insider info. Arrow recently got a new head of QC and manufacturing. Their newer stuff seems much more like pre-COVID quality. We'll know more in a few months. Yeah, I mean, I would hope all of these companies have upward mobility in terms of their QC and like the actual products that come out. And another thing with Arrow too is they have new products that aren't out yet. They have their new Pro handguards, the Mod 4s, which are kind of like a BCM knockoff, but maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse. And then they have their new ambidextrous lowers, which I have not seen yet. RTT says PSA sends some big gun tubers, specially built and QC'd rifles that are not indicative of what the average consumer would get. Pretty dirty business. Yes, they undoubtedly do that, but at the same time, they also send out rifles to reviewers like me that are not QC'd whatsoever. As far as I'm aware, I talked to their QC guy. The picture of my handguard that's not finished on the inside is actually sitting in their QC department right now. But yeah, companies absolutely do that. Tequila Boy says each department works separately and has different processes. I assume that is in reference to Palmetto State Armory's QC department. Does that mean that they don't have a somebody who oversees their QC in general? They don't have an actual head. They're all separate departments. I mean, that could work, but I would still assume to have one person to have all of the that's actually over everything, if that makes sense. McLawless says JP Enterprises would be an interesting company to see you rank. Yeah, I guess we could do JP Enterprises. That would be
A tier. High A tier is somewhere around 80.
I mean, if you're looking for a competition rifle and you got the money to spend, I actually did get to talk to JP at SHOT Show. He walked me through their new 22 competition gun thingy. Like, if you got the money to spend, I've heard they're very good. Nora from Florida says, where is Sons of Liberty Gun Works on the list? Sorry if you said anything earlier. I might have missed it. No issues, Nora. That is being added. We will do that at the end. We did forget to put it on the list, but we will add it at the end. Deskpop says, can you see our video? And I can send you screenshots of my weasel exploding. Deskpop, are you at a computer currently? I could just have you hop on. That would be fun. Let me know. If not, you can just DM me the link on like Instagram or wherever you want, and I can pull that up. All right, Isaac comes in and he says, for $5, thank you, Isaac. If only Volter's complete rifles weren't pretty, just sold to cops. It's not quite worded properly. They're quite a top-tier manufacturer. Only lowers of theirs I've managed to get was a variance. I've never Volter's complete stuff. So maybe they are good, but again, no idea. Not sure. You're welcome, Nora. Deskpop says he's in the gym, which is incredibly based. Hope you're having a good set. J-Dub asks, is Focustripp the Wendigan of the 2A gun tubers? All I know is I've never seen them both in one place. Nah.
I thought that was
Wendigan
Brandon.
seems like a cool dude. Wendigan seems like a cool dude. Okay, Radian. I have very little experience with Radian. But
everything that I've ever tried from Radian has been at least A tier, if not better.
At least, yeah, that is true. I have used like safety selectors. I've used charging handles, which are all great. That's basically kind of what they're known for. Never tried their complete stuff though. I know it's very expensive, but I've also heard very good things. So I could see it as either A or S tier. What does the chat think? A or S tier? while you guys are thinking about that, let's see. Where did I just lost it? Steve comes in and he says, "What tier would you say is a good tier?" Honestly, C or higher if you happen to win the quality control lottery, right? Because you can get anything in C tier as long as it's put together well. It's going to function well enough.
I mean, you could get a Palmetto State that's going to function well. The problem is just if the quality is there. So you got to be your own QC in the no QC department.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me check. Somebody sent that over to me on Discord, so let me see if I can get that link brought up real fast. James W says, "Well, you can get a Raptor for like $60." Yes, you can. They are very ubiquitous at this point.
I think Radian probably makes the best ambi lowers. So
I have heard good things about their lowers as well. So what, should we put them up to low S tier?
I think A tier with ADM and BCM is probably the right place.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. I might put them towards the top of A tier though, but we'll see about that in just a second.
I think for the next three, for Smith & Wesson, Ruger, and SIG, we can group them all three together because there isn't much difference between them.
No, they used to be like the budget brands of ARs, and so I'm kind of thinking C tier for them.
See, I was thinking, okay,
because they're kind of they're like the basic. You were thinking what? Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking B tier.
But I wouldn't put them next to Daniel Defense.
I would.
Really?
The M&P 15, the Ruger, whatever the hell it is.
They're good for like $800 to $1,000, but yeah, I still wouldn't put them next to Daniel Defense. Like if I had to,
I would put them next to CMMG.
Let's put. Hello? Okay. Oh, there we go. I don't know about that, but. Because we would put them above Arrow, maybe slightly. So maybe low B tier, especially if you can find them like on sale for under $1,000. Low B tier. I would kind of go for that. Smith and Ruger and
the SFAR. The SFAR like intrigues me greatly.
That's true. I have heard good things about good and bad things about the SFAR. The new Smith & Wesson Sport 3 that they recently came out with, and then the SIG M400s, I've actually heard pretty good things about. So, yeah, probably low B tier, high C tier, somewhere in that range. Good for the money tier. Men Hayden says Arrow is above Smith & Wesson. Maybe. I mean, again, the one thing about Arrow, as it stands currently, I'm not a huge fan of their handguards, but they are coming out with newer stuff. So I could easily see Arrow, especially if their QC is improved as well, I could see them getting bumped up. Well, Dutch, we're not saying that they're next to DD. DD is at the top of B tier. And then SIG, Ruger, and Smith & Wesson are at the bottom of B tier. So there is some gap between them, if that makes sense. They're not actually right next to them.
Put DD in the bottom of A tier, so that put Daniel Defense in the bottom of A tier.
We'll bump it up. We'll get it away from the rest of the poors. Give them some segregation there.
Geissele is not above ADM. Geissele is not above LaRue. I just have no control over this tier list.
That's right. It's this guy. Yeah, but no, I kind of actually do like it low A if we're going to go for that. Yes, you're right, Link. Goes no QC. I know. Sorry, man. All right, what do we got? We got Spikes Tactical. Very expensive, very mil-spec-ish, but I've also had pretty good luck with their products. I haven't had that much experience, but everything I have has been very FN, let's say. What's your thoughts on Spikes Tactical?
Oh, I think I'd almost put them in the meme category.
Really?
Spikes Tactical is the one that makes all the meme lowers, right? Yeah, I think they
Possibly.
are.
I've only dealt with their upper stuff, like barrels and whatnot, and they've all been good because their barrels are very expensive.
Let me double check this and make sure that I'm not slandering Spikes Tactical without reason.
Fabian says Spikes is batting B due to customer service. That's possible. See, I've never dealt with their customer service, so I could totally see that. I could totally see them being dropped down if they were difficult to deal with. That's another thing. A lot of these companies, they go up and down based upon people's personal experience with them. Like, even if you have an issue with a company and they resolve it quickly and they're nice and they're courteous, like, you're going to still have a positive impression versus like you hear horror stories where people haven't gotten back to customers after like 6 months or something. And it's like, even if it's a great product, they have an issue, you don't resolve it, they're going to think you're garbage tier at that point.
I think Spikes Tactical absolutely goes in the meme tier.
That is pretty mean. That is pretty memey. But don't you want that on your rifle? Doesn't that just scream quality to you? Andrew Vachon comes in and he says Spikes is A tier. The builders are S tier. Some of the lowers are meme, but the quality is great. So let's go B tier for right now. Let's put them in B tier.
I think I can agree. I think I can agree with B tier if they're actually good.
Yeah, if the parts are actually good, because the experience I've had with their barrels and whatnot, very good. All right, what do we got here? Springfield Armory. C tier. I have only ever heard bad things about them. Actually, sorry, probably D tier.
My friend has a what do they call it? My friend has one of theirs, and that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it works. It's nothing special. Yeah, it's a Saint. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, the Springfield Saint. Every video I watch on it of YouTube, which is probably only like 3 or 4 at this point, they just fail to run. They fail to do the thing that they're supposed to do. Now,
Springfield's only decent product is designed in Croatia. You're probably right.
That is funny. The Springfield, what's the new handgun? The Prodigy? I did get to shoot that at Palmetto State Armory's The Gathering, which I was actually at last month, 2 months ago. That was fun to shoot. But the rest of their stuff, yeah, I like the way some of their products look, but yeah, the function I've heard is just not all there. And it's not like they're an uber cheap company either, so you can't just dismiss it because they're inexpensive. Brother in Arms comes in here and he says, just got here, but how is Ruger B tier and HK C tier? Well, my thing is I'm just not a huge fan of the HK 416. I don't think it's a good rifle. It was improved upon by what came after with the SIG 516 and Caracal 816, but it caused more problems than it fixed. That's what I'll say about the HK 416. And it's insanely expensive. So, yeah, not a big fan. Not a big fan.
And the Ruger SFAR is actually innovative. I mean, as much as
That's
they're
true.
stealing from POF. So,
Ruger, SIG, Smith & Wesson belong alongside Springfield, says Catastrophe. However,
I could probably agree with that.
Yeah, but then we're bumping them up to B tier from D tier, Springfield. I just haven't heard that many
bumping
good.
the other 3 down. They belong in the bottom of the middle of the pack. So,
There. All right, we're just filling out that C tier. All middle of the road. How about that?
Hey, look at that. The mid-range has a lot of options.
Speaking of options in the mid-range, Stag Arms, straight to C tier. Now, if you're not familiar, Stag Arms is a sister company of Ballistic Advantage and Aero Precision. So they all use each other's parts for things. So Stag Arms uses Aero handguards and Ballistic Advantage barrels, and they just kind of interchange their parts. So it's got to be C tier. Yeah. As Dutch says, stag equals arrow. Yes. Yes, sir. Fabian says stag is noticeable for being a very left-handed forward. So yeah, if they have left-handed options, that is nice for, you know, a few people in the gun industry, which is cool. But I don't know if that moves them. Like, that doesn't just increase their quality. That's a nice feature to have, but it's not like it makes their rifles better, if that makes sense. All right, let's see. We got Windham Weaponry.
A tier. Absolutely A tier. This is Windham Weaponry is what Bushmaster was. And they actually do things now. And they're also the only company that you can go to for an A1 style upper. So,
but does that make them good?
I've never heard anything bad about Windham.
Let me see. Let me check these guys out real fast. And then what else did we have to add to the list? We had PWS, Sons of Liberty Gun Works.
POF. Yeah, POF, Sons of Liberty, PWS, and these two.
I'm going to put it in high B for right now. The reason for that is that it does look like they have some actually good prices and like some retro designs and stuff that you can't get elsewhere. But I haven't heard anything about them, so I don't think I could put it higher than high B. Zev.
I think Zev is A, if not S tier. Zev owns it. Every single wedge lock handguard is made by Zev. Well, every single one of them.
Didn't Zev buy Mega? Was that how it went?
Yes.
There used to be Mega Arms, and then Zev bought them, and now everything is Zev. So everything that was Mega is now Zev. All right, let me... do you have links to the other ones that we want to add here? Because we're almost done. We just got like 3 more. 3 more. Isaac says, for $2. Thank you very much, Isaac says, everything at Windham's shop got auctioned off. So does that mean
it was just auctioned to themselves? They bought it back.
Oh. Was that some sort of weird reconstruction thing that they had to do?
So the original Windham went bankrupt, and they managed to hang on to the factory. So it was bought back by the people that owned or that worked for Windham. I'm not sure if it was the same owner or not.
All right. Do you want to... I have to add these images into here. POF. So this will take me just a second to get these into here. So what are we adding? Are we adding POF? Yeah?
POF.
POF Firearms logo. Where the heck is the POF logo? If you Google POF logo, it does not come up.
Copy image. Hang on. I'll send it to you.
Sweet. Where are you going to send it to me on? I have like 12 tabs open in 3 different browsers.
That's
Afflict
awesome.
really wants Griffin Armament on the list, so maybe we add Griffin Armament as well.
There you go. There's POF. And
oh, damn it. Hop and Brass both responded to me at the last possible second. Unbelievable. Oh, hey, thank you. Download. All right, so that's 1. I got POF. All right, now we need more. What else are we looking for? POF.
There we go. There's PWS.
Sweet. Oop, crap, wrong one. I almost deleted the list. That would have been sad. Sons of Liberty Gun Works. We need that one.
Yeah. I don't want to include SOLGW on the list, and the reason I don't want to include Sons of Liberty on the list is because they don't actually build. They don't make anything. They assemble things.
Neither does Delta Team Tactical. Neither does Durkin Tactical. Neither does FN. No, not FN. Sorry. Neither does Colt.
I mean, Colt at least has,
in the past, they
memories
have.
of the factory.
Sure. They sold off so much of their manufacturing, though. I think Sons of Liberty Gunworks deserves to be on the list. We can keep this under
Okay,
2
well,
hours.
if
Great.
Sons of Liberty is on the list, then Focus Shooting is on the list. Because y'all do the same thing.
No. They do it better. They're bigger, they're better, they're badder. All of the things you would think.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. You still here?
Okay. Yeah, I'm still here.
Troy Wilson Combat. See, I only have one experience with a Wilson Combat barrel. It was an 18-inch 308 barrel in my brother's build. It was a Magnum or extended length gas system. It was crazy long. And because of that, it would not function without a suppressor on it. No matter what we did, it would not function without a suppressor. And so he ended up just taking it off and replacing it with a shorter barrel. All right, got that. Thank you, sir. Okay, sweet. All right. Let's see. Radical Firearms, maybe? Chris Taylor asks for Type A, but I have a very controversial opinion on Type A, and it includes another set of YouTubers. So we're going to leave that video for another day. No Type A as of right now. No Type A. Ooh, actually, Casual Playa comes in and says Triarch. And I do remember building you a 12.5-inch Triarch barrel or upper receiver. So what do you think for Triarch? Let me pull the AUTES, not the AUTES. Let me put this back up for you guys. Sorry. All right. So, Brother in Arms for $199 says, "Can we add Maxim Defense?" Well, he did pay me $2, so that means we have to get Maxim Defense on there as well, Gary. J-Dub comes in and says, "Why don't you like 1911 Syndicate?" I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say it. All right. Let's see. All right, you cut out there for a second. You back?
Yeah. No, you were talking trash about Type A, and then apparently Bill didn't like that either.
I must have a backdoor dealing with Type A as well. Jeez. All right. Are you working on getting those other thumbnails for me real fast?
Let's see. I've got you Sons of Liberty, POF, PWS. Which other one did you need?
Shoot. Maxim Defense. Cobalt Kinetics. I don't have any experience with them. Triarch did go underground for like 2 months, so I don't know if you want to put them on there. Triteful asks, "Where's Knights?" Knights is on the top. Knights is S tier right next to Geissele, sir. FCD would go straight into meme category. They're another company that doesn't make anything. They just have other companies make things, and then they call them FCD, which doesn't mean that they're bad. Just means that they, do contract manufacturing for everything, which is fine. But they also do extremely expensive meme type stuff, which is very silly. Okay. I think that is good for right now. Expo Arms. Expo Arms is decent. Jared Whitmore comes in and asks for that. But again, it's like Primary Arms in-house brand. It's Roscoe. It's Ballistic Advantage. It's Diamondback maybe as well. It's a few other companies. Nick comes in and he says, "I have spent most of my adult life working in machine shops and am currently employed as a machinist/toolmaker. Sons of Liberty Gunworks absolutely deserves to be on the list." Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. I've only heard good things about them. Their prices are not outrageous. You can get complete rifles for $1,300, sometimes even less than that. They are using a lot of other companies' parts, as Gary has noted. So that's not Not a problem, but it is just something to point out, you know, where the parts are coming from. Their QC is good, their assembly is good, their testing process is good, and it's also important to note that they're having these other manufacturing companies manufacture things to their spec. So they're not just buying off the shelf components in a lot of cases. So because of that, because of their price to performance, good quality, good customer service, I think I would. Yeah, I think I would put them in A tier. Sons of Liberty Gunworks A tier.
I was only hesitant because they don't make anything, and I tried to make this list about, you know, companies that are actually, you know, making things. But if we're just talking about like the quality going into the assembly, they're absolutely A tier, if not a little bit higher, but probably A tier.
Yeah, no, I think A tier is fair for them. So yeah, it's because it is kind of basic stuff, again, just done to a really high level. Everybody on the top S tier, not only do they do the basics to a very high level, but they also use, you know, and they twist and change components to be a little bit better than what you're getting out of, you know, your mil spec or standard-ish components.
I think in that case, we could probably put ADM in S tier as well, because they're, or not ADM. We could probably put Radian in S tier as well.
Radian?
Yeah, because of their ambi lowers.
Ambi lowers are good, yeah, but then so does ADM, and so does Griffin, which Griffin isn't on the list yet. But oh, sorry, let me pull that one up. Okay. All right. Let's finish out with what we got here. Because we're at almost 2 hours. We were only supposed to go for an hour, guys. Thank you all for hanging out. There's way more of you here than I expected, and this list has taken way longer than I expected to go as well. So, in order to finish it out at around the 2 hour mark, POF. What are we thinking for POF?
S tier.
I remember Nut and Fancy videos of him going over their super lightweight AR and it just failing out in the desert horribly. I remember that video. And also, isn't a lot of their stuff proprietary? So doesn't that knock them down just a little bit from S tier? I'd be willing to hear arguments for A.
Okay, Mr. Bendy Bill Simp. Will Geissele sell you and a full auto trigger? No. Will POF sell you a full auto trigger? Yes.
That's cool. But that's not like an argument against their or against their quality. Right. That's just saying they'll sell you a cool component. So
yeah, probably A tier. Probably A tier. So I was thinking that their POF is the one that really pioneered the SFAR
this is
platform.
True. I mean, to be fair, to give them credit, they have done a lot. Yes. Ruger's like, hey, I can do that for like half the cost and almost as good? Question mark. Hop seems to like his after doing some work to it. The Never Clan HQ says what about it? Centurion Arms. Damn, I can't read right now. It says, what about it? Centurion Arms? Question mark. I have no experience with Centurion Arms whatsoever, sir. So I'm not sure. Joe L comes in for 199. Thank you, sir. Says, for SIG, are you talking about the MCX or their DI guns? ARs. So the SIG MCX, it's kind of its own thing. I'm not a huge fan of the SIG MCX, but especially the 3rd or 4th generation that they're on now. But I could see for some people why that would bump it up for sure. This is more about the M400, the 716 or whatever that's called. Some more of their AR-ish rifles. Hop comes in. I think this is about LaRue. Says, with his mystery meat steel and non-disclosed rifling specifics. Yes. All right. PWS. I love PWS, but I don't think they go higher than A tier. No arguments. Perfect. Maxim Defense.
No argument.
Meme tier.
Probably. Meme tier?
Well, okay. They do so many short, like, nonsense builds, right?
Okay.
It is.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not
I'll agree
actually
with that.
mean, like, I believe they are high quality from what I've heard, but man, all of their different PDW builds and stuff like
PDW.
that, like 5-inch, yeah, like 5-inch 7.60 by 39s and other monstrosities that they put out. For the quality, though, realistically, we should probably bump them up to at least a B tier. They're certainly not high value because they are very expensive, but they are pushing boundaries, and maybe not pushing boundaries in the direction we'd like them, or they're certainly moving in a direction. But yeah, probably B tier. Probably B tier. I probably wouldn't put them higher. If you have a very, very specific application for one of the rifles, maybe better. CAC. Now, this is a difficult
CAC
one for
is
me.
S plus.
S plus.
S plus.
I'm a dealer for CAC. I get a lot of CAC parts. I deal with them often. They're great people to deal with, right? They come out with a lot of interesting stuff. They're the only company that I've ever been a dealer for that's issued me a recall notice on parts for exploding. So
CAC is the only company on this entire list that links on their website to the STL files for you to 3D print your own shooters.
That's cool. That is cool. Sure.
Their dedication to the additive manufacturing industry and the at home gun squirters is absolutely awesome.
See. Now, what do we actually rate their ARs though? Because I agree with you. They're a cool company. Like I like them. I deal with them. I've talked to them. They're very responsive. If I ask them to do something for me, they will basically do it, which is awesome. I don't have, and they do a lot of crazy cool stuff, and they are pushing the industry again in seemingly random directions at times. Their QC is certainly not perfect. As a dealer for them, I've gotten multiple batches of products that do not work in the way that I wanted it to. Yeah. Now, Weagle comes in with this chat and says, well, isn't it a good thing if a company issues a recall? It's owning up to some QC failures and then addressing it. That is the proper response when you have an issue. It is better to not have the issue in the first place. So while it is a plus that they do respond well to when they have issues, of course, it is better to not have the issue in the first place. So yeah, we agree. Now, Hop comes in and he says, the SFR is great now. It even still has a few Ruger parts in it. That's good to hear. Fonzie comes in for $199 and says, Radical Firearms. Now, Radical Firearms, I've used 2 or 3 uppers. Actually, 1 complete rifle and then 2 or 3 firearms, and they've actually worked well enough. I know that a number of years ago, they had like a reformation issue, and they kind of tried to come back out and be better about a lot of things. And so since then they've improved, because I know they used to have a terrible reputation. So maybe I would put them at like C tier, maybe. Ooh, we should have put Foxtrot Mike on here. I would probably put them in like C or D tier. I really don't like the FM15, and unfortunately I have to review that Reap, or yeah, the SCY, the Reap Weaponry's SCY bullpup conversion kit for an AR-15. And it's the upper that I'm using for it is the FM15, which I'm not a fan of. Not a fan of it. Geissele comes in and he says, DPMS question mark. My intro to AR-10s years ago, or to ARs 10 years ago. Sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah, again, I think 10 years ago, they would actually be in that solid middle ground category because they were cheaper than the top tier manufacturers at the time. But I really don't think they would compete with a lot of the other top tier manufacturers today, if that makes sense. Yeah. Miles says
they're only $800 now. So
I mean, that's actually still a good price. That's certainly budget-esque, I would say. Solid Snake asks about the ATI Omni, to which I say, no, thank you, sir. No, thank you. But seriously, CAC, probably C tier. Some of their products higher than C tier, some of their products in the no QC category. But I would say overall, I still use CAC for a lot of my parts because the parts that I use and have tested quite a bit to my liking, they work fine, and the value is certainly there. So C tier. And for some of their stuff, like their dissipator uppers that I'm admittedly building out next week, probably B tier. All right, I think that does it for the list. That was very long. Gary, are you happy with the list as it stands right now?
I mean, I'm not happy with where Geissele is, but other than that,
I mean, we could always move LaRue down if you wanted to, like, have them further separated, right?
Where would you put Tennessee Arms Company?
Oh, dude, so we can talk about them for a second. So I did some videos. I bought 3 of their lowers. 1 AR-10 lower. They're polymer lowers, by the way, for everybody who doesn't know. They're very inexpensive. I believe I bought 3 of them, 2 AR-15, 1 AR-10 lower for under $100 shipped to my FFL. And the AR-15 lowers broke multiple times. You would send it in, they would fix it, send you a new one. They would never hold together well. They kept cracking at where you would think one of them broke in half while I was shooting it. What's funny is the AR-10 lower receiver never had an issue, and it actually ended up getting sold. So I have 2 of them still. They're broken, laying in a box out in my shop, I believe. But I
Didn't
would
one of them
not
break
recommend.
falling out on top of your closet?
Yeah, no, one of them fell like 2 feet and broke. One of them broke just sitting there. I didn't notice that it had a huge crack in it, and I picked it up one day and it was like starting to break in half, and I was like, oh, that's not a good thing. So yeah, would not recommend. Even though they're cheap, they are not high value. They are very, very bad. Hop asks, is Rock River Arms on here? Question mark. You might have to do a prequel video talking about the post AWB AR tier list, like a historical retrospective on the assault rifle or the AR marketplace. What are you doing, bud? What's up? What's that smell? I hope it's not anything. I can't smell anything. Hope it's not burning in here. All right.
Where's those ones?
Hmm?
Those ones over there?
Oh no, these are for Daddy's throat, dude. Daddy has a sore throat.
Where's it?
It's empty, buddy.
I want to see.
It's empty.
I need it. I need it, please.
I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry about that. It was just wandering around looking for a good time. Aw. Gary, you're being mean again. He yearns for the Ricola. Yes, you're correct. All right. Yeah, I know. They're actually about to go to bed, so I actually need to hop off for them. Gary, what are you up to? And do you have anything else to add to this list before we get the heck out of here?
I do not have anything else to add to this list. I just got a notification that mine are screaming and I need to go inside as well.
Perfect. Well, that works out for both of us. So to everyone watching the stream, I want to thank you very much for putting up with us for over 2 hours. You are absolutely insane, as are we for doing this sort of thing. If you disagree with our list, feel free to make your own in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Peace off. Now I need to awkwardly look around.